With Alexander Jung, so I'll hand it over to Alex.
Yeah, so welcome back to the second session of today. Shall I start? Yeah.
Yes.
My name is Jung, Alex Jung. I'm an architect with 25 years plus experience, and I will present the progress of my research for the Synthesis 5 topic. Today, my supervisors are Professor Haeusler and Professor Michael Ostwald. The Synthesis 5 topic has the following question, which is: what are the effective strategies for enhancing collaboration among actors in the architecture, engineering, and construction sector to improve productivity and efficiency? The working title of my PhD is Investigating in Collaboration and Communication in Digital Fabrication in the AEC sector, which defines the broad area of the research. At the same time, it aims to reveal the deficiencies in project collaboration and the deficiencies in workflow management. I want to start with an example where I experienced a really streamlined workflow for the first time, I guess, which is when I worked for UNSW, working on the Mercedes-Benz Museum. That started 2001, where we had to come up during the planning process with a unified workflow to streamline the communication with all stakeholders due to the complexity of the geometry. In collaboration with the controller and the client, UNSW established. It's a good thing. Established contracts which mandated all consultants to use Rhino as a single software platform to create a kind of unified language to optimize the data flow within the project. And this optimized scenario was probably the reason why, at the end, the Mercedes-Benz Museum stayed within the construction timeline and the budget. The research gap is defined by the digital transformation, which kind of changed the way how we communicate today as well. We are basically looking at three communication modes here. The first one is human-to-human communication, which is still the most effective, but sensitive to errors at the same time. Human-to-machine collaboration became kind of the standard for today's work when humans interfere or work with machines or robots using hardware and software as an interface. With the Industry 5.0 and the cyber-physical systems, which basically focus on human robotic collaboration, we even expanded the communication further to machine communication, and sometimes machine to human, at the time feedback, talking about feedback. The specific area of the research is investigating in operative management system and communication strategies in order to generate an integral, interdisciplinary communication between all stakeholders. Further, the literature review identified four basic research gaps, which are labeled here in A, B, C, and D. A, only a few papers were looking into fully functional architecture, where digital fabrication elements are integrated in a more analog construction process. B, integrated practices and their inherent strategies like lean management, lean construction, and alliance contracting have not been fully explored yet. C, the absence of lateral and vertical communication is where most projects fail to meet expectations. D, an effective collaboration is kind of outlined here using a trefoil knot, which is repetitively and continuously connecting all sectors of the planning process. The methodology in data sources is they are planned in a traditional way. So I started with my initial literature review in order to investigate the topic, which of course identified the research gaps. I'm in the middle of stage 2 method, where I do semi-structured interviews with industry partners, and that will follow up by the stage 3 method, which will be a kind of a field study where I would love to collaborate with our industry partners, I as an observer within an ongoing project, in order to further identify workflow data deficiencies. The first set of interviews has already been conducted during my research trip to Europe in August and September. The interviews are divided into 3 fields. So I'm going to interview architects, engineers, and fabricators. This slide outlines outlines the topics of the interview in black in the center of the slide. And during the interviews, I with the interviewers, we identified further topics that are relevant for the research, starting with the amount that the amount of information that we are able to produce using digital technology, which has tremendously increased and usually hinders a clear communication. Interoperability of data, as mentioned in the talks before, and the absence of standards in digital collaboration is still an issue in the building industry. Further, all the participants emphasized on the importance of sustainable aspects in the design methods, in particularly the circular construction methods, which where the communication is even more important, because it already starts with the initiation of the project. Okay. The research further explores the linear process, which is still the modus operandi for most project structures, where stakeholders are gradually integrated into an ongoing process, gradually only able to act on given parameters instead of proactively solving issues within the team. This diagram shows the process in vertical direction, collaboration in horizontal direction, and 2-party contracting scenarios are usually further underlining this linearity. This crucifix-like diagram, where the participants are further away and disconnected from in-process activities and problem solving, needs to be substituted with a more circular and integral project process or project structure, in order to foster a integral interdisciplinarity from day one. Alliance contracts or multi-party contracts plus working groups further foster that kind of circular communication and this integral project structure. It distributes risk, responsibility, and profit to equalize the commitment of each participant. And I think simultaneously changes the dynamic of collaboration as well. Okay, I will end showing an example which I brought back from my trip to Europe, when I talked to Felix Amtsberg, who is working for the ICD in Stuttgart, which is led by Achim Menges. The LiveMats biometric shell is one of the first projects that tries to incorporate other on-site trades, like a builder, a woodworking company, and standard MEP consultants. The project is an outstanding example, integrating human-to-machine and machine-to-human communication within an almost fully automated process. The humans would be able to interfere or interact with the robots installed in this linear fabrication process using augmented reality technology. Looking at the workflow diagram, which kind of outlines a figure 8 shape, becomes quite clear that the digital workflow is still separated from the conventional workflow. The digital process on the white side has been managed meticulously from research to execution. The project management on the conventional pink side responsible for the integration of traditional trades on site, still used classical project managing tools. So to initiate the necessary paradigm shift and improve industry practices, we should focus further on developing all communication sectors in the building industry, not only the ones that are responsible or within digital fabrication. Over the next months, I will continue exploring that area, which remains a challenge for the building industry, the pink side. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions? Comments?
Thanks, Alex. Hello. Geez, because I know a bit about your time in Germany, I'm just wondering, when now you are in Australia, are you seeking similar interviews with practitioners along the same lines? And if so, is it then a process of comparison between what you uncovered to see maybe where there are cultural differences, geographical differences? Does that play a part?
Not that's not the intention, but an opportunity, I guess. I will interview industry partners here in Australia. I have only been looking into the European field because I activated my old network, so to say, and I thought it would have been a good idea to go for that network. I figured out during my time in Europe, during the interviews, that the people I interviewed, the participants, they were all in managing or supervising positions. And there is this fabulous diagram, which I don't have with me, but it's from architecture, or robots in architecture, it's called, right? From Secret Structure, where you see clearly that like people between 18 and 25, they use digital tools for 32%, and they are within the process. Managing positions over 50, they use it. Well, I think 1.7%. So it turned out that the people that I interviewed, apart from two, which is Felix Amtsberg from the ICD and Alex and Yuba from Bollinger and Homan, they were really in the process of data flow and data management and workflow, because they, for example, set it up like Bollinger and Homan. It's not entirely working, but it's progressing rapidly. And I think that would be my next step, looking maybe for participants that are younger and in the process of doing things. But that's why I kind of planned the stage 3 method, where I will be part of an ongoing project, a project as an observer, where particularly can outline and research what's going wrong and what works perfectly fine. I think that would be probably more efficient than doing interviews.
Can you step behind the lectern so you're in the shot,
sorry.
please?
Thanks, Alex. Duncan Maxwell from Monash University. Just a fairly simple question about sort of defining collaboration. In a sense, we can kind of understand that more of something isn't necessarily always better. And with communication, I think that's kind of clear. More communication isn't necessarily the answer. But perhaps with collaboration, sometimes it's a kind of softer. We can, if we're not thinking about it, we can sometimes think, oh yeah, well, we just need a bit more collaboration. But there's probably a similar equation there where it still needs to be effective collaboration. So I just wondered about your thoughts really around sort of defining what is effective collaboration, and a second part of the question, really thinking to the end of your PhD, what do you expect the output, or is it some sort of collaboration support or mechanism or workflow? What staring into the mists, what could that be?
I'm starting with what's collaboration, maybe, because it is indeed really complicated, and I really enjoyed the talk that we had from Professor Frederick, who said that it is important that human is part of this kind of game. It's not only computational tools, it's not only software, it's not only hardware, it's human beings. And what came out during the 7 interviews that I already did is that trust. I had that in the test lecture. I took it out. It's the most important parameter for successful collaboration. The question might be, how can we establish trust within a digital realm where we more and more collaborate with digital media and tools? That might be a really good question. Where that would lead me with my PhD, I'm not quite sure yet. It's of course a really good question, but I was always thinking. I was first initially, I have to say, I was really interested in the topic communication, collaboration, because from my experience, I know that if something goes wrong, collaborating with your consultants or with your team, the project will die. It's obvious. Right, so it's one of the most important parameters for successful and qualitative good architecture. At the end of the day, I think it would be clever, as I said, to do further collaborations with industry partners and probably come up with the framework that allows a good collaboration. It's hard to define good collaboration, but I think it's really on workflow and data flow and how we exchange information. I'm sorry, I really don't have an answer yet. Maybe ask me in 2.5 years.
Alex, thank you. I was just, it's a 2-part question. One part is, I was wondering if you're going to have a look at communication platforms and the history of those, because just randomly came into my head Gary Tech and the fact that their whole agenda, I don't know how many years ago, but probably I think it's 15, so maybe it's longer, I don't know, was to get all the consultants in the room and working together, and they very much found that communication was the key thing, and in that process they developed their in-house digital communication platform for both people communicating directly and collecting the information that was being exchanged and things. And I know a lot of the other big firms kind of followed that line, so that would be interesting. Then your step from that is this is much going from human to human to human to machine and machine to machine. Have you got, so now, this is just a hypothetical, but have you got an opportunity now to build on those kind of platforms, but with AI, we can actually be communicating with machines and they with us in natural language? in a way that we couldn't 20 years ago, and machines to machines, and we can, with an interpretation for us. So that's a question that I hadn't thought of till this moment, till I was watching your research, but I find it very interesting.
The machine, maybe I start with the last question. So the machine-to-machine communication is really interesting, but I tried to outline it with showing the example from the ICD in Stuttgart, because it's fairly easy to manage and organize workflow and data flow, or how machines communicate, because you have to outline it beforehand, really precisely. So they would basically produce what they have to produce without you being supervising, etc. It's basically like a really good orchestra that would play Bach's Fifth Symphony without the conductor. It's possible. I think where the issue really is in the building industry is how can we integrate the digital fabrication into a conventional process. It turned out during the interviews that lots of people, I had a really good conversation with Harald Kloft about that, that there will not be 100% fully automated construction site in the future. That's what they all kind of said, and that's what we believed 10 years ago, probably. But it's, I think it's not. I mean, it would be possible, but it's not really clever, because the investment that you have to do beforehand for a fully automated site is not really smart, and you are much more flexible with tools on human being as an accelerator of the knowledge and power that you would have on the construction site.
And what about back to natural language as the currency of communication with AI?
That's probably happening in the future for sure. Yeah, I found it really interesting with the ICD LiveMats shell, how they were able to interact with the machines and with the whole process line using the augmented reality glasses. That's really amazing to see. I only saw a video. He showed me a video, but I think in 10 years' time, it would be much easier. It would be more like, what's the movie? I always forget the title of the movie where Tom Cruise stays in front of his Minority. No, not Minority. Is it Minority? Yeah. So that's probably happening in 10 years' time. And it will therefore probably be easier to communicate with machines, because we are using natural language, right? Everything will be much easier. Like the coding, scripting, everything will be natural, because we can communicate one-to-one with the machine, asking for the right code or to change the code, right? Here and there. I think it will be much easier. But yeah, that's going to be part of my next steps, I think. And I definitely want to look into these platforms. That was your first question. I already talked with Bonninger and Groban in Frankfurt, because they use Speckle a lot, and there are other platforms like Omniverse, which are an opportunity to further investigate, definitely.
If you've got a question, we need to move on to the next one. Can it be quick? No, no, I can't.
If you do manage to solve this, and a new project participant doesn't have to then trawl through tens of thousands of emails or minutes of meetings that date back for months and months, or information that is stored in some other sort of environment, that would be quite amazing. Some sort of different communication protocol, maybe challenging the sort of conventional ways that we do communicate. Comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. I think good